Hello, hello. We've got everybody joining us today. Come on in. People are joining us. Welcome, welcome. I'll get some background music going here in just a second. I'll get this shared. Welcome. Hello, hello. I keep seeing more people jumping in. This is exciting. Welcome. Hi, all. Okay, we're going to give everybody 1 or 2 more moments to jump in. Today, we are going to be talking about communication and collaboration. So we'll be talking about communicating with your team, communicating with your customers. That's going to be our focus of today. We're going to be talking about having different users, different ways that you can use the system so that you can make sure everybody's on the same page together. What I want to ask as we're just getting started, we're going to give everybody just a minute or two to get in. What I would love to hear is what is your best tip for collaborating with your team or communicating with your customer in the system? What's your favorite feature that you like to use or your best tip that you can use to collaborate, make sure that you guys are on the same page, or the best feature that Curate has that helps you with that endeavor? Put it in the chat. We've got the chat up now, so go ahead and feel free to share that. I want to hear that from the people who we've got joining us today. Your best tip, your best trick, the thing that you like to use the most. And I've talked to people about this before, so I kind of expect some things to kind of come through. So we'll see. All right, all right, all right. Okay, we're going to get started. Some tips and tricks that I know that have come from our customers. We're going to go over several of those today. We've talked about the notes section. We're going to kind of talk about that today. That's something that's going to be helpful. That's going to ways that you can communicate with your team, collaborate with your team, help with your customers, make sure that everybody's on the same page there. Well, welcome to our Level Up with Curate. This is week 4. I cannot believe that we are already on week 4 of Level Up with Curate. Um, Thank you for joining us. We're so excited that you're here. Curate, it's a software that helps event pros stay organized, save time, keep every event running smoothly. I'm Shannon, a self-proclaimed Curate expert. We've got Brooklyn, she's our product manager, and we've got Rain, he's one of our support heroes. So he's going to actually be working in chat today. If you have any questions or you want to throw anything into the chat, anything that you want to chat through, if you just need somebody to talk to, Rain is there for you. Just like always in the chat bubble in the corner. So feel free to throw that in the chat. As always, just a reminder, we have our product feedback. So if you ever have anything that you would like to see in the system, truly, I say our best ideas come from our customers. Really, everything that you see in the system, it comes back to a customer suggesting things to our team of something that they want, and it truly impacts the lives of business owners all over. So please do submit any sort of product feedback, something that you would like to see in the system. Use that link that Brooklyn shared that we share in those emails. Please, please, please use that because that is what helps us all. I love the saying that rising tides raise all ships. So throw that in there so that we can help all of the people that are using the system. The other thing that we have is our Curate community. So we've seen a big uptick in people that's joining the Curate community since we've started these webinars, which is so exciting. I love seeing people collaborate with each other, helping each other learn how to use this system, getting ideas from people. I love that. Please do join our Curate community, ask any sort of questions or anything that you would like to there. As a reminder, if you do attend 4 out of 5 of the Curate webinars, the Level Up with Curate webinar series, you are going to get a Curate certificate. You're going to be Curate certified. That is really something. It's going to be our first Curate certificate that we've offered. We have plans to do more that we're going to be building out more in the future, but we're at week 4. So if you've attended all 4 weeks, then already you've gotten Curate certified. Um, like I said before, feel free to drop your questions, your ideas, your tips, anything right in the chat. We're going to be keeping an eye on that. But otherwise, grab your notepad and let's dive in. We've got some great tips that are coming your way. So, like I said before, our focus this week is collaboration and communication. So, it's going to be both with your team and with your customers. So, we're kind of doing things that are both sides of that today. Brooklyn is actually going to kick it off for us today. She's going to take us into forms and show us some tips and tricks for utilizing the forms.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. Hey, everyone. Excited to be here and show off a few ways to improve your collaboration internally, and then also communicating with your leads and your clients. So, yeah, I'm gonna get us started this week. As Shannon mentioned, I can't believe we're already 4 weeks in. It seems like we just kind of got started with it, but thanks for following along with us. We hope you're learning lots of new tips and tricks. And so I'm gonna share my screen, and we're gonna just dive right in. We're going to start with forms. So let me share. Um, I feel like I have so many tabs open, but I'm going to move us out of the way too. All right. So all right, we're going to get started in forms, like I mentioned. So we are going to click into inquiries. If you're not familiar with using Curate forms, highly recommend. It's a great way to
Yes.
either show off your questionnaires on your website, social media. You can send it in an email, all sorts of ways to share this to get information directly right back into your Curate account. So I'm going to just click into a form that I kind of already put together here. We had touched on in an earlier session kind of how to create the form, but just to kind of give a highlight on what we're looking at here. There's lots of options here. You can pick your styling on how you want this to appear. So I have a logo, I kind of have it matched to the branding colors, and I have my questions below. But talking about how to share this with either your audience or internally, there's some ways that you can share. Once you have the form in a spot that you're ready to present it to others, you can hit the share button up at the top, and then it gives you two options. You can either copy this URL, and that's something that you could utilize with your social media accounts or email, or there is this option to have a code snippet. And so I'm going to show off the code snippet. This is for embedding on your website. So a lot of our users like to have this kind of just blended right into their already existing website. There's ways that you can just add this code right into the back end of how you did your website. So once you click this, you'll notice the button kind of changes a little color briefly. That's just meaning it's copied to my cursor. So what I'm going to do is I don't have a website, of course, and so I'm going to show this off. We have this way to kind of paste this code, and then it'll generate kind of the experience that it would be on your website. So I'm going to just paste this up at the top here. So there's the code snippet. And then if I just hit run, it's going to generate what that form looks like. So it'll present really beautifully on your website, just how you created it in app. So you can see I have my logo, the
Yeah.
colors, all the questions, how you had it formatted. So definitely lean into creating this, styling it, adding it to your website so that folks can easily just fill out a contact form and get right back to you with sending their information into the system. So that's one way to show it off. Another way is to lean into social media. We have some folks that talk to us and use our system, and they do not even have websites because they get so many of their
Yeah.
business directly from Instagram or social accounts. And so you could also utilize the form link in social. So let me figure out what tab sorry, I have so many tabs. What tab I'm on. So here we're seeing, this is just an Instagram account that I made just for the demo purpose. But I wanted to show off kind of how this all ties together. So if you're utilizing Instagram to connect with potential leads or customers and grow your audience, you can create a little, it's called your bio. And so you can add in messaging here. And one way that I see a lot of businesses use this area is to include what is called a link tree. And so a link tree is another software, but it's completely free. So I would, advocate using that. And so that's what I did here to show this off. You might even be familiar with, going to other businesses or bloggers or other folks that you might follow on social media. They are using this system too. And so when you click this link tree, and you can design this, I did all this on my own, so it's really easy to figure out. And so you can kind of have it match your branding. You can put your logo. Again, you can put some messaging. And so when you create your link tree, this is kind of what it looks like on the back end. And all I did was I grabbed that URL link that we saw here. So I just took this and I hit copied. And then when I was in my link tree, you can add additional links. So you could also add a direct link to your website. Maybe you have other forms. We see some businesses, they'll have multiple forms, whether it's for a wedding, maybe you also do corporate events. There's different forms for different styles. So that's how you're going to add it in. And then once someone clicks this link tree, it's going to prompt here, and then you can click here, and then it takes you right into the Curate form. So it's just an easy way for people to also access this questionnaire if they're finding you on a social account. So would recommend using that as another alternative. Or again, if you don't have a website, you can still take advantage of using the forms and get it in front of people so that you can get this information right into Curate, and then you can manage it from there. So once someone fills out this form, I'm going to click out of some of these so that it's not so crazy up here. But once someone fills out this form, we are going to see that inquiry come right into your inquiry tab. So again, I'm just in the inquiries folder. Instead of being on the forms tab, I'm on the inquiries. And so these inquiries are coming here. So they filled out the form. If you're looking at this form, you can review all the information. And you can also set up auto responses as well. So we'll kind of talk about some email templates here shortly, but one way you can lean into this is if when you're setting up your form, you can set up an auto response. Actually, let me just step back 1 second and I'll show that off. So right here, when you were creating your form, you can have an auto email response here, and this is selecting from an email template. And so when someone has submitted this form, instead of just receiving kind of this messaging here that you can add in, you can also send an automatic email that kind of includes additional information. And so with that, I did actually kind of do this prior to joining here so that you could see. But this would be an automated email response. So when someone fills out that form, this email response comes right into their inbox. And then another tool that you can lean into is Calendly. We have a lot of our users like to use this for booking meetings. So if you have a Calendly account, it's also free. You can utilize, you can set this up. Here's just my link that I have. And so it's a way to kind of put a link to your calendar if that's something that you want to open up for folks to utilize. So that's one way to lean into getting an email response to a lead. There's also some other email options for you once you are reviewing this particular lead here again. So we have the inquiry, we're looking over the questions. We can also just send a direct email. So you don't always necessarily have to convert this into an event. We have a lot of folks that kind of have this middle process of doing a
Mm-hmm.
consultation to kind of get a better understanding. There's also sometimes you might just review it and you know that that date does not work with your team. Maybe you're short-staffed. Maybe it's a busy time. You already have kind of your maximum limit of how many events that you want to take on for that weekend. You can also send an email here. And again, just leaning into email templates. you can provide an email template and let's see, look at this one. Unfortunately, your date is already booked, and that's just an easy, quick process to just go ahead and send that off to the customer, or sorry, the lead, letting them know that unfortunately this isn't going to be a fit for you on this date, but maybe you all could work again in the future. That's one way that you could email. You could also email other kind of messaging. Maybe you want to move forward from here before you convert the event, you can send that messaging. Maybe you've already had a consultation. Um, there's lots of ways. If you don't want the automated email, you can also just send the email template manually by sending through this flow as well. So just wanted to touch on that with communicating to your leads and your customers, and then also getting your forms in front of your audience, whether that's on your website or through social. So
Yes.
definitely utilize forms.
Yes, so good. That is one of the best things that I hear people talk to me about over and over and over again is utilizing that form on their social media. And then when Brooklyn put all of this stuff together, I was just in awe of the way that she really just made it so smooth and made it flow all the way through. So there is a way to make it so easy and hands off. I love that. Great job, Brooklyn.
Yeah,
It's so
definitely.
good.
Look into if you're not already kind of using
Yeah.
extra tools. Like I mentioned, they are free. At least the versions, maybe there's some limitations there, but for what I did, it was all free to set up. And we get so many folks that use our system, use Curate that tell us, how beneficial it is to have these forms on their social accounts to just kind of manage that so things aren't getting lost in your inbox and they're not sending you direct messages and things get, slip through the cracks very easily when you're kind of managing so many different, avenues of contacts. So just give them the form and then you'll get all the information right in one spot to help make things easier. And then we kind of touched on email templates, but I want to also kind of check those out with you all a little bit further. So I'm going to click into templates and we're kind of going to look at the email templates a little bit more closely so that you're also kind of utilizing these within that flow of the forms, but also in other areas that you can set up automations and communicate better with your clients. So if you go to your templates, there's all kinds of different templates you can create. And this particular one, we're going to look at email templates. So I already have some samples kind of loaded in here that I've created. If you need a little bit of inspiration, you can also choose to explore templates. So if you're feeling a little stuck or you're not quite sure, what templates maybe should I even be using, if you click this explore template button, there's all kinds of templates that are pre-built. You can then just click add to my library. That just adds them right into your different areas of what you'd be using them for. So like for emails, I can filter this down. If I want to add a rebooking opportunity, I could add that to my library. You can always choose to edit, once it's added to your library. If it no longer serves you, you can, get rid of it. It's not a permanent thing. It's just a tool to help you kind of get going with utilizing the templates and building out some content. So that's one way to use it. I'm going to click into, let's see, I'm going to click into this payment reminder one. I want to touch on payment reminders because also very helpful. We want to make sure you guys are getting paid, and it's very helpful to have reminders. Everyone lives a very busy life. So I know customers appreciate reminders as well as you all probably do of making sure that everyone's up to date with their payments. So you can set this up, a payment reminder template. Some things to make sure that you're utilizing to just make things easier on you. There is the option to add in these tokens. So this is just a way to kind of generate a standard email template, and then the template and Curate does the work for you of pulling in the data to kind of fill in these tokens. So if you want to access this, you can actually just click personalize. And then there's all sorts of different tokens. There's the default tokens. If you have custom tokens, custom property tokens, you can also pull those in. So that's what these options are here. You can also add email signatures or just a photo. So if you like your emails to be a little bit more visual, I've added this signature. This is the preview over here of my email. But if I wanted to pull in that photo, you just click this little icon next to personalized. You can then upload a file. You can upload up to 5. So if I wanted to just include the logo, I could add that in. It'll pull in kind of at a big size, but don't worry, you can adjust it. So you can shrink it down to make it smaller, or if you like it really big, you can keep it that way. It's up to you, but you can also have some options with the formatting. Maybe you like it to be centered, you want it off to the right or the left. So there's different ways you can put those files and those photos in here. It could be in the middle of the email, wherever your heart desires to put those images in there, you can add them. So just wanted to touch on that as well, and then also utilizing the links. So here's a token that we have the portal link, but as you saw earlier, we also can incorporate booking links. So if you want to add any type of link, you can also do that. You can just click this little, it almost looks like a paper clip, but that's the link
Mm-hmm.
icon. If you click that, you can just simply add a link here, and then once it's added, you save it. And then that's a way that you could add in your link if you wanted to. So yeah, I think that covers it. Oh, actually, I wanted to touch, sorry, one more thing before I pass it back to Shannon. Too many things that I want to cover. With payment reminders. So you have your email all set and ready to go. We want to make sure that your payment reminders are turned on. So you would go to your settings, you would go to notifications, then you're going to go to payments, and then you want to make sure that this is toggled on, and then you can actually choose kind of that flow of when you want the reminder to be sent out. If you want it to be on the day that the payment is due, you can set it at 0. Most commonly, what we see anywhere from 7 to 14, so that week to 2 weeks in advance notice. But it's totally customizable. You can add whatever number that you'd like, and then it's going to allow you to select that email template that we just went over. If you'd like to include the event owner, you can have them on the email preference there, and then just make sure you hit save up at the top. Alrighty, I think
Awesome.
that covers it for me. Shannon, I'll pass it back to you to kind of go over some proposal tips and tricks, and then you guys will hear from me again here shortly.
You do so good, Brooklyn. You can tell that you have such a deep understanding of the flow, of everything that should go into it. I love it. Okay, what we're going to jump into now is I actually have an event pulled up. We're going to kind of recap. Some of this stuff is re-emphasizing. Some of this you may be seeing maybe for the first time. But we're going to be kind of be talking about some stuff about collaboration with your customer within the proposal itself. So, for basics, I feel like I say this over time, all the time, over and over and over again. So if you've heard me talk about it, you probably heard me talk about it. I talk about it a lot. But for publishing, when it comes to publishing, what this publish button does, the very first time you click that button, all it does is create the live link of the proposal. Every time you click that button after that, it's only updating the live link of the proposal. Nothing ever gets sent to your customer without your knowledge in this event. It's not going to send automatically to them, nothing alerts them. To be honest, you could be on version 100 and your customer would never know. If you're just clicking that publish button, they will never know what version that you're on. You can always go back and review previous versions. You can go back to whatever versions that you may want. And a little tip that I use on the versions myself, you'll see when I hover over this, down at the bottom of my screen, you'll see that I can see the URL of what that version is. If you are ever wondering, when did I publish this version? Sometimes I use that when I'm going back to view what I did, kind of tracking things together. You can actually see the date in that URL. My version date for this one was 10/28/2025. You can see that in the URL. So just like a little hidden tip of things that I do in the system, you can see that. But that's going to be for publishing. If you are in here working, everything is auto saving while you are working in the system. If you just are not ready for them to see it yet, just don't click the publish button. That's it. Just work away. Just don't click the publish button right there. But if you are working and you just want to check the experience, what's it going to look like for my customer? You can always flip over to preview. One thing to note with the preview is that it will display the tokens. Inside the proposal, tokens will not display to you. So you won't see, what is the token. Here we've got the event date as a token. But if you're just want to be sure of the experience or whatever, you can go in here and just go down and view down inside the proposal right here with that. Okay. So that's a preview button. The other thing that you can do here, whenever you are actually sharing it with your customer, if I go up here and I click on share, you've probably noticed, and many of you are very experienced in this already, but you can share the portal like normal. You can also share the portal without pricing. There are several instances where this is the preferred method. Sometimes you may want to share the portal with your team, and they don't necessarily need to see pricing. They just need to know what was communicated to the customer for that event. You may also share that with another vendor, somebody else that may be a part of the event, but you don't necessarily want them to see pricing or anything like that. You could do that. You could share that portal with pricing. That flow is just the same as the other one. So if I click on Share Portal, it's going to open up this one right here. I can copy my link right there. I can download the PDF without pricing. I can do that here. Another little tip for anybody that may be a Mac user, I am a Mac user. I like to copy this link and actually text it. I don't have it, you don't have my full screen showing right now, but I'll pull up a text and I will text this link to somebody if I need to in the system. So that is a quick way. If you like to use that, if you want to text it to them, you can do that here. I'm going to do the normal share really quickly. I'm going to click on Share Portal. Now Brooklyn just went through all of the templates here. We did make a your proposal is ready template. Whatever the name is, that is for you. Just be aware whenever you are naming that, that is for you internally. It's not customer facing. It's whatever you need it to remember it by. It's always going to plug in your customer's information right here, but you can click this button to add all portal contacts. I just don't have anybody else there. But you can click that button. If you want to add all the vendors and everybody that you have added on there, feel free to click that one right there. It's always going to CC you. Now, here is my template that I've built out. You can personalize it here in the quote. You can put your logo in there. You can send this over to them, send it out here. You can also build a new email template. So say that I want to make changes to this one right here. I can just save it as a new email template in the moment. That way I'm not having to go back to my template to build it out. You can just do it here in the moment. Something else to note, if you are emailing from the proposal, it will already have that button in there that they can click to view the portal. You don't have to include the link in there if you don't want to. So in this one, I say click the view portal link below. That is the button that will be there anytime that you are sending from the proposal that's here. Okay. Okay, the next thing actually in the proposal, I'm going to go over here to this little sidebar and kind of dig into that a little bit. So if I go to the overview slide out, that's here, there's a couple of things that I really wanted to dig into here. Another thing of communicating with your customer, the way that I hear people tell me that they do it is they will send the normal share, they'll go through the normal share flow the very first time that they're connecting with the customer. You also have something over here called portal messages. Now, there's a lot of cool stuff in the system. I sometimes find that I do not talk about portal messages enough because there's so many other things to talk about in the system. But portal messages is such a cool feature. What portal messages is, it's a way to send an email, a communication to your customer, and then they can respond to that and it will track the back and forth between you and that customer right here. So in my example right here, I sent out a message to Amelia and I just sent it to her after we had had a call and we talked through some things in the system. I just sent a message over to her, "Hey, did you have a chance to confirm the layout that we were discussing with the planner?" Whenever I sent that to her, she would receive that in her inbox. And if she just clicked respond on that email is going to go to you. You're going to see that in your inbox, but it's also going to track it right here. So you'll be able to see hers, you'll see yours, hers, yours. You're going to see that back and forth between you and the customer. It's going to have the date and the timestamp on there. So it really helps you keep track of kind of what's going on with that person. All right. The other one that I would consider part of the communication with the customer is going to be the portal expiration right here. For this portal expiration, what this is this allows you to set a date where the live link is no longer live. It will display it on there and it will say this portal will expire on this date, the date that you set in here whenever you prepare that event. All right. What I've heard from people is that that lights a fire under them. It lets them know, like, hey, you're not going to have access to this forever. You need to decide if you want to move forward with this or not, and so it is really helpful making sure that people are not taking your things and shopping them around or whatever. You are able to put that in there. We're not talking about automations today, but I'll go ahead and throw it out. We are going to talk about automations next week pretty heavily and in detail. But you can also set an automation so that when something happens, maybe the stage changes to booked, the portal expiration date will go away. The portal just won't expire. So you can set a portal expiration and then just have an automation on the back end where maybe when it moves to booked, it no longer has that expiration date applied to it there. Okay. Um, the other thing to kind of take a look at right here is going to be um, um, I will show this the portal name. This one right here. This is a way to kind of customize that experience with your customer. I did it here. This is a brand new release, so I'm kind of getting ahead of our monthly product webinar. This is something that we actually will announce next week. But a brand new release is that you can put a portal name on here. You can customize it to be whatever you want it to be. Or you can put a token in there. So in this case, I'll put a token in there for the event name. Now, this shows for me, but I also want it to show for the customer. So when I go through my share process right here, I'm going to copy the link right here. This is what my customer is going to see. All right. You'll notice that it is going to fill out with whatever I put in there. So it is going to say Union Station Wedding, Smith and Richards Wedding. It could say the Jolly Event Co., Smith and Richards. You could have your name in there, whatever you want to have in there to kind of customize that experience for your customer, make it more bespoke, more unique to them, really driving home that impact, that customization for your customer. You can do that in there as well. Okay. The other thing the last thing that I'll talk about in the proposal before I pass this along, before I pass this back to Brooklyn, is going to be in the contract section. So I'm going to flip over to the contract section. In the contracts, there are several ways that you can go about that. One thing that you can do in the system is you can have multiple contracts in one event. So that could be some ways that I see people do it is they will do one contract at the beginning where they are booking services, and then they'll have one contract like 2 weeks before the event where they're signing off on whatever is listed in that event as um, as saying, confirming that this is what we are going to do, this is what we are going to get for this event. You can put that in there. You can also put different sections in there. So sometimes you may want to pull, let me just pull up this event contract. I'm just going to call it that event contract. If you pull in a contract right here, what you can do is you can actually break it up into different sections. So if you want to get specific signatures on different pieces, so say that you want to get a special signature on your cancellation policy, you could pull in a section and call it your cancellation policy so that you can get a signature on that specific section. For the signatories, you can freely make edits to whoever that you need to be the signatory for that event, or you can add additional people on here. Many people, sometimes you want many people to be the signatory for this event. It is very easy to add additional people as signatories for your contracts. Okay. All right. I'm going to pass it back to Brooklyn, and she is going to take us into the contact section to show us a little bit more about the contacts.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon, and appreciate the sneak peek of the portal name token. We're really excited about that one. That came from customer feedback from guys just like you all. So, as Shannon mentioned earlier, please submit your feedback to us with that link we shared in the chat. It's really helpful for us to kind of know what enhancements you all are looking for. So we rolled that out, and then folks wanted kind of a quicker way to name those, and so we introduced tokens to it. And yeah, it's live as of today.
Yes,
So
I love it.
let me share, and then we'll keep on going here. I'm gonna share more about contacts. So let's see, should see my screen. Alrighty, so we're going to kick it off of contacts and using contacts within the workroom. So all the important people that are involved in your event, you can easily add them to this section down here. I just renamed it as event details, but typically when you get started in an event, this is called people and vendors. But again, you can name it anything you'd like to customize it. So that's what I did up here. But we're going to work through adding your contacts, and then also something that we find folks don't know about is that you can actually add labels or kind of names to these particular people that are tied to the event. So
Mhm.
you'll see here, Melanie is our bride. She's our main contact. If I go down and I want to add additional folks to this event, um, this proposal is geared towards a venue. So maybe we want to, put a light and shine on our florist. So I'm going to just say, let's say Haley here is our florist. So we have her here. You'll see she'll pop in. If I want to, maybe, make that known that she is the florist, I can then come in here and I'll add that as the label. I'll say that she's the, oops, florist. And then, so that is something that you can add in. If you'd like to add a name or a title, whatever you'd like to call them, you could even, since we have it just kind of as her name, maybe you want to say she is with the Bloom Co. Whatever that might be for you. So you can add that and it'll show there. We can add a few more contacts as well. Maybe we want to say Robert here is our caterer. So let's just say he's with Crave Catering. So that's something that you can lean into if you'd like to add those labels to your contacts within the event itself. And then you can also kind of mark these folks as vendors or companies. I'm going to take us into the actual contacts folder to kind of walk us through how you can manage that. So let me take us into the contacts folder. And we're going to actually just create a new contact here together. So let me go up here. I'm going to add a new contact. So when you are in the process of adding, all the important people that you work with into your contacts folder, you have these check marks up here. And so there's different categories that these important people might fall into. So you want to keep things organized. You have company, vendor, and venue. So we see a lot of folks, they like to use the company as a checkbox here. Maybe you just have a direct contact. A lot of businesses, they might just all operate under one email, kind of one touch point, but you kind of talk to a lot of different folks. So this would be a great use case to use the company. I went ahead and I'm just gonna, as we create this, we're gonna say that this is for the St. Louis Zoo. Me and Shannon are here in St. Louis, and so folks can have events here at the zoo, which I think is quite fun. And so I'm going to just copy this email, and as we build out the contact, we can put this in here. So I'm going to say this is the St. Louis Zoo, and then we can just say this is the wedding team. So if you have just one email that kind of goes to a lot of different folks, save them as a company, and then that just prioritizes the company's name over like a first and last name. You can still obviously add that if you'd like to. Maybe there's a manager you typically talk to and you kind of want that in there. You can add those details. You can of course add additional contact details around like an address, a website. You can have tags, a description, a photo. There's all sorts of ways you can build this out, but I'm going to just hit save here. And we go back out to our contacts list. You can also filter by the company. So you can either show all companies, which will kind of narrow down contacts into just folks that are checkmarked as companies. And you can do that actually too for venues. We didn't save one as a venue. And there's also sometimes there's an overlap. So like for example, the one that we just did, they are a company, but they are also a venue. So let me check mark that because you're also having the event at the zoo.
Hmm.
So I'm going to save them also as a venue. And then, oh, let me add an address in here too. Wonder, there we go. I'm gonna just add that in here. Kind of helps me out. And then, all right, we have the address as well. So I'm going to save that. And then I want to walk us through how this looks when you create an event to kind of lead into why you would want to check mark a contact as a venue. So when you're creating a new event, this slide out appears, as you all know, with creating the events, where you can fill out all the details. But there is an input down here that you can select from your contacts folder of places that are specifically organized and check marked as a venue. So when I click here to say that our venue is at the St. Louis Zoo, this location automatically pulls up with the address. Shannon's going to touch on here in just a moment kind of more about Google Calendar, but this is a very helpful way to make sure that you're getting those addresses into Google Calendar. And so when you're creating this event, this will also pull in automatically. So let me just say that this is Allie's wedding at the zoo. And then we'll say um, Allie is our contact. And then we'll say it's at the end of the month. So I'm going to create this. And then you'll notice kind of just full circle of what we were just talking about with those important contacts here in the details of your proposal. If you are loading in the venue through that input, it will automatically show here on your proposal and label it as the venue. So you're not having to kind of go back in and add that label later on. So just some helpful tips of kind of automating those processes of kind of going ahead, doing the work as you are organizing your contacts to just make sure that they're all properly, kind of check marked of who they are so that they can work in better ways through Curate for you as you kind of build things out moving forward. Another way, just one last touch point on contacts, is that you can also add notes. So we know a lot of times, kind of, folks will have consultations, or maybe they're like a VIP customer of yours. They have,
Mm,
definitely preferences of things they like or they dislike, or
yes.
there's lots of ways that you can also just kind of keep track of that. And so if we click into a contact here, there is a description box here that you could, of course, add descriptions about the contact themselves. But we also have an entire note section. So depending on how you like to work, you can, add a little description of who they are. But we can also add notes here where you can do just kind of like a text box. And so we could just say,
Yeah.
Emma loves roses and tulips and often has a spring tea party. Whatever that might look like. And so you can add notes and it's going to timestamp it. And it's also going to show you who left that note. So it's very
Yes.
easy to communicate across your team of who left the note, kind of when that was added. Is it a super recent note? Is it something that might be a little dated? So yeah, just something to kind of touch on around the contacts, just a way to better improve your communication internally
Yes.
there with your team.
You know what? I am reading a book, or I just finished last week. I just read a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. So I feel like this book really had its heyday maybe like last year. It was a really popular book last year. And so I finally read it, and what that really brings to mind is that concept of unreasonable hospitality, of documenting these little pieces about people that you may work with often, and really bringing that level of service to the next level. So helping people, maybe tracking things about wedding planners that you work with, things that they may like or prefer, or maybe venues and specific ways that they operate, making sure that you are following the things that they laid out so they're not having to tell you over and over and over again, so that you become higher and higher and higher on their preferred vendor list, you know. So yeah, that really just brings that to mind of unreasonable hospitality, of having a way to intentionally document things to improve that relationship and improve that business relationship that's there. So, that was so
Yeah,
good.
I love that, Shannon. It's
Yeah.
still on my what I need to read list. My I always get good book recommendations from Shannon, so I'm looking
It's a
forward to
good.
reading that one.
Yes.
But yeah, I just want to pass it back to Shannon. She's going to wrap up our training session today.
Yep.
She's going to cover how to manage your team, and yeah,
Hmm.
kind of just ties right in.
Okay. So I'm going to let me make sure I'm sharing. Okay, so we'll start with this one. So, what we're going to focus on in this last little section is really managing your team. So, what we have been doing during this series of a Level Up with Curate, the webinar series, we have been doing, you can do any sort of you can do a trial of any sort of add-on that you may want to during this period, because we're talking about the different add-ons and the different things that you can add to your account. We want you to try them, see if there's a benefit to them. One of those additional add-ons is users. Now, there's a lot of things that people do not realize and do not know about the way that different users function within Curate, and the ways that you can utilize that to better improve your process, better improve your customer experience. They just don't understand the full impact of that. So, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that, the idea of multiple users and the things that can go in there. But it also wanted to hit on helping manage your team. That kind of goes back to the thing that we talked about in the beginning. I was realizing today that we actually really should be talking heavily about Prince on managing your team, because that is also a heavy piece. But since we've already talked probably a lot about Prince, we're not going to focus on that so much today. The one that I actually want to start with is the Google Calendar integration, like what Brooklyn was talking about. So, in the system, you are able to go over to your integrations. Now, if you have multiple branches, just note that if you're setting up integrations, you can set up an integration, a different integration for every branch. For this branch, I'm already connected to Google Calendar. I've got it managed in here. In here, I can tell I wanted to automatically sync my events once they reach the in production stage. For other people that might be booked or something like that, another stage where you automatically want it to sync over there to that event. Now you can sync it on a one by one basis, but really what I wanted to focus on is using that functionality. So I have this event right here. I think I'm going to use this Alicia and Alan event right here. If I click on this slide out, you'll see that we do have a location. This is my favorite uh, uh, venue to use. We have so many venues in St. Louis, but this is my favorite one. But that's our location for this event. We've got that venue already loaded in there. Something that we have here in this box, in this description box, it can show on your prints, but this can also determines what will be in your Google Calendar event. And I'm going to show you an example of that. That's why I have my calendar up right here. Something that I really love that you can do here is you can link the customer portal, and you can link the workroom link right there. Now, I didn't put any labeling on there, but you probably could say something like the portal, and then you could put something like the workroom. You know, just some sort of label in there, and I'll save it now, but it's not going to sync to my Google Calendar. I'm not going to intentionally sync it. But you can put whatever information in there that you want to be sure that your team sees. We have a lot of people that are sharing a calendar with their team. So I have synced this over to Google Calendar. Um, I just clicked this button right here, and it just synced it over to Google Calendar. So I've got it here on my calendar. You can see that I've got this wedding, this Union Station wedding, and you can see that the address logged right in there. So if you have somebody like your delivery driver is the one that's pulling up this calendar to take a look at it, you can just have it here to where they can just click on the name and it's going to open up maps and you'll be able to just get directions directly to that location. So it's just a very fast way of launching those people in that right direction. Now you can put more, obviously you can put more in here. In that event description, you could even say like this is number 1, this is stop number 2, this is stop number 3, and these are the pieces that would go with that. There's a lot of delivering that's happening here. But this is the links that we just did. So this portal link is so if you want to know, okay, what is my customer experiencing right now? I can just click right on that link and it opens up my event so I can see exactly what that proposal looks like right now. Or let me just jump into that event and make sure that I did set that up correctly. You can click on the workroom. If you're already logged into Curate, it's just going to open up the workroom and you're immediately going to be able to be in the workroom and have that in there. Now, I love setting these up, including these links on your template. That is key. You don't necessarily want to go in and put that token in your description every single time. Put it in your template so that when you duplicate the template, those links are automatically going to be there every time. So that whenever you're pulling it up on your Google Calendar, you're going to have those links there, and just to makes it a quick access, a quick way to getting in there and managing those events. All right. Next thing to look at is going to be our users. So I'm going to hop over here to our users page. Now we have a lot of users, obviously, and there are many of you, even that's in today, that has joined today, that's watching the webinar today, that we know have many users. We have many customers that have a lot of users. But there's a lot of people that don't actually realize the intricacy that can go into the different users. So right now I'm an admin. There's 3 different roles in here for a user. Owner will see everything in the account, every single thing they will see. Admin will see everything in the account except for subscription information. If you are an owner, you probably realize there should be a subscription tab right here. As an admin, I cannot see that subscription tab. I can see everything except for that tab. As a user, there's a little bit more um, control over what they can see, what they can do in the system. All right. Now, I'm just going to click on myself as an admin right here, and you can kind of see what I have access to. You can choose what branches I have access to. So for the people that have branches, this is where you would do that. This is how you change the role. You also have the ability as an admin, I do have the ability to edit the component costs in the recipes. So just notice that that is going to be toggled on. You can see that what I have access to in the system, I can't even delete a user as an admin there. And I can see everything. You can see that I can kind of see and manage everything that's in the system. Okay. I'm going to stop my share really quickly. And I created another user that has a user profile, and I am also logged in as that person right here. Okay. You'll notice that I have a very different view. I can only see down to the game plan tab, so I cannot go into the templates, I cannot go into the reports, I cannot go into the settings, I cannot manage those things in the system. Um, in here, you can also control if they are view only. Sometimes we get questions a lot that say, what about my warehouse workers? I know they need to have access to the system, but I don't want to put them in a position where if they make a mistake, they're going to feel terrible about doing something in the system. You can mark them as view only. You can mark a user as view only so that they can see the things that are in the system, but they can't make any sort of changes in there. Sometimes that's a great sort of protection that people even desire. They don't want to make a mistake. They just want to get in there and see the data that they need, pull the sheets that they need to get ready for their events that's there. All right. Um, you can also do it to where where the user cannot make changes to pricing. That's kind of what we were looking at earlier. But looking at this view, I'm gonna hop back to the other view. But before I do, the other thing that I wanted to show here is the event notes. So I use this as an example right here of one of the reasons why it is really powerful. There's a lot of places in the system where it is really powerful to have multiple users. The notes is one of those places where it is really helpful. This is one of those areas where it makes it really a lot easier to collaborate with your team, to share things with your team. You can put information in there. Anytime someone leaves a note, it's going to have the name of the user that left the note along with a date and a timestamp on there. Another thing that is really helpful, which I don't think I've done anything necessarily in the system, but line item activity is another place where it will track by the user, which makes it so much easier. If you're going back and saying, okay, who changed this or who did this or when did that happen, you can just go back into the activity log and see exactly what changed, who did it, was this intentional, things like that. You're able to quickly see that here in the activity log. Okay. Let me flip back to my other profile that I have really quickly. Um, Here we go. So I'm going to click on John Richards. This is my user person. So this is where I would say, okay, I can choose. Do I want them to be view only? Do I want them to edit component custom recipes? And then down here, we've got a little quick guide. What do they have access to? What do they not have access to in the system? It's a sort of like limiting role. It's a way for them to have power to do things. They can even be event owners if you want them to, but they can do some things, but it helps manage what they have access to in the system. Okay. Um, a lot of people kind of going back to those warehouse workers and even accountants, people ask us, what do you do with those users? What do you do with them? Should I add them in here? I want them to be able to see everything. What do I do with those? It is really common to have warehouse workers, your rental guys, your accountants. It is really common for them to actually have their own login in the system where they can go in and grab the information that they need from the system. So just so that it's pretty common for people to do that so that they have their own access and you're not sharing logins with maybe somebody who may be a contractor with your company, not necessarily even a full-time employee. You don't want to be sharing logins there. All right. Last thing to kind of hit on is why? Why would I have additional users in the system? What are the benefits of doing that? The number one thing that I hear of reasons why they want somebody to have their own login into the system is because they can be the event owner of the event. They can be the owner of the event right here. So right here, you can see that I am the owner of this event. So when I send an email from the system and they respond, it is going to be responding to my email. That's going to be coming in right there. So then you can manage that directly so they can own their own events. It's less confusion about who owns who is doing what event. It puts all of that together so that makes it a lot more clear and streamlined. The other thing is they do need to be the owner in order to send messages from this portal messages tab. So to have that communication, they do have to be the event owner, which means that they're either logging in as somebody else. If they don't have their own user, they're logging in as somebody else. That provides a lot of confusion with customers, right? With your customers. Brings a lot of clarity when they are the event owner and they are actually knowing who they are communicating with in the system. Other benefits are you can see them in the notes section that we were looking at before, the activity log, those things that we were talking about right there. Managing access, sometimes you don't want them to have access to the full system. It's really helpful if you've got a sub users. And it also, one of the things that we're not going to talk about, I got to keep stopping myself from talking about this, is automations. I'm not going to talk about it, but I will say you can set up automations to automatically send to people on your team. If they are a user, you can trigger an email to automatically send to somebody based on some certain criteria. That's what we're going to be digging into next week. But it allows them to be pulled up on that list as a user. It allows them to own inquiries. There's a lot of things that you can do with users, with their own users in the system. If you would like to take advantage of that and you want to try that out just to see, is that something that helps? Is that something that would benefit our company? Just let us know. We are totally fine. Right now we're freely adding things into the system. So if you'd like to try those out, feel free, just let us know. Okay, that wraps us up for this week. For once in our lives, we're actually on time. Good job, Buzz Brooklyn. We did it. Um, Thank you so much for joining us this week. As we talked about communication and collaboration, I would love to hear from you. I have actually talked with many people about this topic in particular, about collaborating with your team, communicating with them. Prince is another one of those areas that I wish we had more time and we could dig even deeper into Prince and how you can utilize that to manage your team. But thank you for joining us. Next week is going to be kind of the peak, the end of our journey for Level Up with Curate. We're going to be digging deep into reports, into automations, things like that that are things that can really help your whole flow, your whole system kind of flow together. We're going to be digging deep into those things. Reporting is one of those areas that people ask us about for more training about all the time. So it's going to be a great week. Be sure to join us. And we will send out the recording a little bit later. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Have a great
everyone.
day.
See you next week.
Bye.